President Faust, members of the Harvard Corporation and the Board of Overseers, members of the faculty, proud parents, and above all, graduates. The first thing I would like to say is thank you. Not only have Harvard given me an extraordinary honor, but the weeks of fear and nausea I have been endured. At the thought of giving this commitment address have made me lose weight. A win-win situation. Now all I have to do is take deep breaths, squint at the red banners, and convince myself that I'm at the world's largest Gryffindor reunion. Delivering a commitment address is a real responsibility, or so I thought, until I cast my mind back to my own graduation. The commencement speaker that day was the distinguished written philosopher Bernard Mary Warnock. Reflecting on her speech has helped me not miss writing this one, because it turns out that I can't remember a single word she said. This liberating discovery enables me to proceed without any fear that I might inadvertently influence you to advance a promising careers in business, the law, or politics, for the gifted delight of becoming a gay wizard. You see, if all you remember years come to the gay wizard joke, I've come out ahead of Baron Mary Warnock. Achievable goals, the first step to self-improvement. Actually, I have wrecked my mind and heart for what I ought to say today. I've asked myself what I wish I had known at my own graduation, and what important lesson I have learned in the 21 years that have expired between that day and this. I have come up with two answers. On this wonderful day when we are gathered together to celebrate your academic success, I have decided to talk to you about the benefits of failure. And then you stand on the red horn of what is sometimes called real life. I want to extol the crucial importance of imagination. This may seem quixotic or paradoxical choices, but bear with me. Looking back at the 21-year-old that I was at graduation, it's a slightly uncomfortable experience with the 40-year-old that she had become. Half my lifetime ago, I was striking an easy balance between the ambition I have for myself and what looked closest to me, expected of me. I was convinced that the only thing I wanted to do ever was write novels. However, my parents, both of whom came from impoverished backgrounds and neither of them had been to college, took the view that my overactive imagination was an amusing personal quirk that would never pay a mortgage or secure a pension. And on the irony strap for the false cartoon ever now. So they hoped that I would take a vocational degree. I wanted to study English literature. A compromise was reached that would ensure respectability nobody. I went up to study modern languages. Holland had my parents call around the corner at the end of the road that I took German and stalked down on the classic corridor. I cannot remember telling my parents that I was studying classes. They might well have felt that the first time on graduation day, all of subjects that planet, and had never hard but to name one less useful than that Greek mythology is when it becomes securing the keys to a executive bathroom. Now I would like to make clear in parentheses that I do not blame my parents for their point of view. There is an expiry day on blaming your parents for steering you in the wrong direction. The moment you are old enough to take the wheel, responsibility lies with you. What is more, I cannot criticize my parents, who were hoping I would never experience poverty. They have been poor themselves, and I have been seen being poor, and I quite agree with them. That is not an ennobling experience. Poverty entails fear and stress, and sometimes depression. It means attacks on petty humiliation and hardships. Climbing out your poverty by your own efforts, that in this sometimes was to fight yourself, but poverty itself is romanticized only by fools. What I feared more than myself at your age was not poverty, but failure. At your age, in spite of listing lack of motivation at university, where I had spent far too long in a coffee bar writing stories and far too little time at lectures, I had a lack passion in examinations, and that, for years, had been a measure of success in my life, and that is of my peers. Now, I am not done enough to spoil what because you're young, ripped and well educated. You have never known hardship and heartbreak. Talent and intelligence, never yet enough anyone engaged that can brace up a face. And I do not for a moment suppose that everyone here has joy and extended and fulfilled permanent and contentment. However, the fact that you are graduating from Harvard suggests that you are not very well acquainted with failure. You might be driven from fear of failure quite as much as desire for success. Indeed, your conception of failure might not be too far from the average person's idea of success. So high have you already flown. Ultimately, we have all decided for ourselves what constitutes failure. But the world is quite eager to give you a set of criteria if you let it. So I think it's fair to say that by any conventional measure, it's been 7 years of my generation day, I have failed on a big scale. An exceptionally short life marriage had imploded, and I was jobless, a lone parent, and I suppose it is possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless. The fears that my parents had had for me, and I had had for myself, had both come to pass, and by every usual standard, I would pick it failure anew. Now I'm not going to stand here to tell you that failure is fun. That period of my life was a dark one, and I had no idea there was going to be what the press has since represented as a kind of fairy tale resolution. I had no idea then how far the tunnel extended, and for a long time, any light at the end of it was a hope rather than a reality. So why do I talk about the benefits of failure? Simply because failure means stripping away of the essential. I stopped pretending to myself that I was anything other than what I was, and began to direct all my energy into finishing the only work that mattered to me. Had I really succeeded at anything else, I might never have found the determination to sit in the one arena I believed I belonged. I was set free because my wretched fear had been realized, and I was still alive, as the daughter whom I adored and had no typewriter and a big idea. And so a rock bottom became a solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. You might never fail on a scale like that, but some failure in life is inevitable. It's impossible to live without feeling at something, unless you live so constantly that you might as well not live till at all, in which case you fail by default. Failure gave me an inner security that I have never attained by passing examinations. Failure taught me things about myself that I would learn no other way. I discovered that I had a strong will and more discipline than I had suspected, and also found out that I had friends whose value was truly about the price of rupees. The knowledge that you have emerged wiser and stronger from setbacks means that you are ever after secure in your ability to survive. You will never truly know yourself or the strength of your relationships, instead both have been tested by adversity. Such knowledge is a true gift, for all is painfully won, and has been worth more than any qualification I ever earned. So given a time Turner, I would tell my 21-year-old self that personal happiness lies in knowing that life is not a checklist of acquisition or achievements. Your qualification, your CV, are not your life. That who you will admit any other mind who consider the truth. Life is difficult and complicated and beyond anyone's total control. And the humanity to know that will enable you to survive its vicissitudes. Now you might think that I chose my second theme, the importance of imagination, because of the part they play in the rebuilding of my life, but that is not the whole show. Though emotionally it will defend the value of bedtime story to my last God. I have learned to value imagination in its more broader sense. Imagination is not the only uniquely human capacity to envision that what is not, and therefore the fact of invention and innovation. It is arguably more transformative and regulatory capacity is power that enables us to empathize with humans whose experiences have never shared. One of the richest formative experiences of my life precedes Harry Potter, who informed much of what I subsequently grew in those books. This revelation came in the form of one of my earliest day jobs. Where I was slopping up to my rent story during my lunch hours. I paid the rent in my early 20s. by working at the African Research Department of Amnesty International's headquarters in London. There in my little office, I read hastily through Leicester, smuggled out a totalitarian regime by men and women who were risking imprisonment to inform the outside world that what's happened to them. I saw photographs of those who had disappeared without trace, sent to Amnesty by their family and friends. I read a testimony to 12 Piston and saw pictures of the intros. I opened handwriter, eyewitness accounts, of summary trials and executions, of kidnappings and rapes. Many of my co-workers were political prisoners who people who had been displaced from their homes or fled into exiles because they had legitimately speaking against the government. Visitors to our office include those who had come to give information and to try to find out what happened to those they had left behind. I shall never forget the African torture victim, a young man no other than I was at the time, who had become mentally ill after he on endured in his homeland. He trembled in confidence as spoke into the video camera about the brutality inflicted upon him. He was a foot taller than I was and seemed as fragile as a giant. I was given a job to escort him back to an aroused station afterwards, and this man, whose life became shattered by cruelty, took my hand with exquisite curiosity and wished me future happiness. As long as I live, I shall remember working along an empty corridor and suddenly hearing, from behind a closed door, a scream of pain and horror such I have never heard since. The door opened, and the researcher broke out her head and told me to run to make her heart shrink for the young man sitting with her. Just to give him the news that the retaliation for our outspoken against his country regime, his mother, had been seized and executed. Every day of my working week in my early 20s, I was reminded how incredibly fortunate I was to live in a country with democratic elected governments, where legal representation and public trial were the rights of everyone. Every day, I saw evidence about the evils humankind will inflict on their fellow humans to gain or maintain power. I began to have nightmare, literal nightmare, about some of the things I had saw, heard, and read. And yet, I also learned more about human goodness and Amnesty International than I had known before. Amnesty mobilizes thousands of people who have never been tortured or imprisoned for their belief to act on behalf of those harmed. The power of human empathy, leading to collective action, saves lives, and frees prisoners. Ordinary people, whose personal well-being and security are assured, join together in huge numbers to save people they do not know and will never meet. My small participation in that process was one of the most human and inspiring experiences of my life. Unlike any other creature on this planet, human beings can learn and understand without having experience. They can think themselves into other people's places. Of course, this power, like my friend of fictional magic, is morally neutral. One might use such ability to manipulate or control just as much as understand and sympathize. And many prefer not to exercise their imaginations at all. They choose to remain comfortably without bow and their spirit never drop in water how it's real. They can refuse their health dreams to appear inside cages. They can close their minds and hearts any suffering that does not touch them personally. They can refuse to know. It might be tempted to envy who live that way, except that I do not think they have fewer nightmares than I do. Choosing life in narrow spaces leads to a form of mental atrophia, and that brings its own terrors. I think it frequently imaginative to see more monsters. They are often more afraid. What is more, those who choose not to empathize enable real monsters. For without ever committing an act or outright evil ourselves, we will collect it through our amity. One of the main things I learned at the end of the Calais corridor down, which I ventured at the age of 18, intuition is something I could not define, which is written by the Greek author Plato. What will be inwardly will change outer reality. That's an astonishing statement, and yet proven thousand times every day of our lives. It expresses in part our incapable connection with the outside world, the fact that we touch other people's lives simply by existing. But how much more are you, Harvard graduate for 2008, likely to touch other people's lives? Your intelligence, your capacity for hard work, and the education you earned and received give you a unique status and unique responsibilities. Even your nationality sets you apart. The great majority of you belong to the world's only remaining superpower. The way you work, the way you live, the way you protect, the pressure you bring to bear in your government, and in part way beyond your products. That is your privilege and your burden. If you choose to use your status and influence to raise your voice on behalf of those who have no voice, if you choose to identify not only with the powerful but with the powerless, if you retain the ability to imagine yourself into the lives of those who do not have your advantages, then will not then will be your proud families who celebrate your existence, with thousands and millions of people whose reality you have helped change. We do not need images to change the world. We carry on the power we need inside ourselves already. We have the power to imagine better. I'm not nearly finished. I have one last hope for you, which is something that I already had at 21. The friends with whom I sat on graduation day have been my friends for my life. They are my children and godparents, the people whom I'll be able to turn times towards real trouble. People who have been kind enough not sure to me at our graduation without a moral impression by our shared experience of time and never could come again. And of course, but the logic that we have certain photographic evidence that would be exceptionally valuable if any of us were a prime minister. So today, I wish you nothing better than similar friendships. And tomorrow, I hope that even if you remember a single word of mine, you will remember those of Seneca and not those of Romans as a match. When I fled down the class corridor and retreat from the career ladders in search of ancient wisdom. As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. I wish you all very good lives. Thank you very much.